This is a video for how to go about using the random number generator function in Microsoft Excel. We will mainly be dealing with the random generation of numbers between 0 and 1 and random generation of numbers between two digits. To start out, we're going to do between 0 and 1. So I'm going to start out in cell A1 and I'm going to hit equals and I'm going to type RAND. And I'm going to double click on RAND for random. And we have an open parentheses and we're going to close the parentheses because Excel knows that that's just between 0 and 1 in this case. And I'm going to hit enter. And we have 0.74. Now, if I say, I want 25 total random numbers here, I'm just going to click and hold down with my plus and drag down, and it's going to give me those random numbers. Now, if I hit F9 on my keyboard, it's going to keep just randomly placing numbers. Now, you might say, well, I want to randomly generate some numbers, but I just want to keep this group. I don't want to keep randomly generating. I want to highlight these numbers, and I'm going to Control-C on my keyboard. I'm going to come up to B1. I'm going to right-click. And we're going to go to values, and I only want the values. I do not want the functions. I don't want, anything that we've written in. I'm just going to click on that. And you'll notice now, I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard. Now when I hit F9, those numbers auto-generate. And I've kept these numbers. So if you say auto-generate for me a whole bunch of numbers, but I just want to keep a certain array of them, I can do that. So that is function, that's a random function just for between 0 and 1. I'm just going to go ahead and just delete these for now. We're going to talk about between two numbers. So up here for A1, I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to type rand between. And I'm going to say, two numbers between, 1 and 100. And I'm going to hit enter. And automatically it gives me 86. So again, I can decrease my number of decimals up here if I just want whole numbers. And I'm just going to drag this down and say, I want 25 random numbers. Kind of a good way to kind of do some little kind of random number generation system. If you're designing something and all the data I have 300 returns on my survey, but I want to design for 10,000 people, I can take those 300 and say, give me 10,000 people between 1 and 300 of the survey responses that they gave me. And this is going to give us some random number generation. Say we're designing based upon these random numbers. Now, the issue that you see here is that you can see decimals, but they're all zeros. So what if I wanted to design, but I wanted between two very specific decimal places? So we're going to go in and take a look at that. I'm going to delete our random numbers here. And we're going to talk about how to create a random number between two things. So in my classroom, I do a lesson where we do the difference between ages of everybody that takes one of my engineering classes. So last year, I think the oldest person was about 18 and a half, and the youngest person actually was about 13 and a half. It was the youngest student I'd ever had as a freshman in class. And like if I wanted to do decimal years for those students, like how old are you in decimal years? And we did years, months, and days. We tried to find specific significant digits for how old somebody was based upon a 365-day calendar and your number of years. We got into months and weeks sometimes. It was really interesting. So in this case, if I want decimals between two specific numbers, I'm going to hit equals and I'm going to type out RAND. And I'm going to double click on RAND. And I'm going to go ahead and close it off again because we're between 0 and 1, but we want to create a multiplier to that 0 and 1. So just for the sake of discussion, I'm going to say the oldest person in my class was 18.65 years old, and my youngest person, I'm going to say minus, is 13.5 years old, and I'm going to go ahead and close those parentheses. And that's, going to give us a number somewhere in the 5 range, and we're going to take that 0, random 0 number and multiply it by the difference between these two numbers, and then we're going to add it to our youngest number and hit enter. I've got 14.553, so 14 and a half, and I'm just going to drag down, and there's going to be 75 total, 25 total numbers that I've placed. Now, I said that I said 75 off the top of my head because I had like 75 students last year. Well, one thing that I can do is, I can say, what I really want is 150. So let's double the number of kids I had in my class. I can come up to here and say, I want 150 people total. And I can take all of this data now, and I can go in and create a chart from this, for a graph. If I come up to insert and I can say, I want for myself, some kind of, a numbers chart, or I can do a pie graph or something to show me, who fits within what on my data. I can do all kinds of different things with this. To go ahead and create like a bell curve chart, I can do all kinds of different things. So within this, we go in, we can actually see if I created, a data chart, nobody's going to be, below 13 and a half, and nobody's going to be above, 18 and a half generally. I did 18.65, but it seems like nobody's really coming up above that. I can change the value here I can change all these different values. So one of the cool things about creating a random number generator is it allows you to say, I've got this much data. Let's put a multiplier to that data and say that this many people exist out of this pool. So we can actually do standard deviation of a population of people, instead of just a data set. And we can kind of fudge with the numbers a little bit. This can help with making serial numbers. This can help with all different kinds of things in your classroom. So this has been a video for how to go about using the random number generator function in Microsoft Excel.